It's time for Reason.
Because now we're introducing the one thing that we have that can actually change the mentality of the people that we're trying to influence, and that is capitalism. We can change their diplomacy. We can change their leaders. We can overthrow the dictators. We can try and quote-unquote free the people, but unless the people know what to do with that freedom, they're lost. The one way that we can change things is introduce capitalism.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Boy, welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. What's up? Welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's great to have you along today on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff happening today. We got to get to it, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, and now we have at least a little bit decent weather. I mean, it's been nice, but a little bit cooler today. We got some moisture in the south central Kansas area. Kind of dig it. Hopefully the farmers are enjoying as well. I don't know. I don't know whether it's a good time to get rain or the bad time to get rain. I'm really not sure. Don't really follow up on that other than the fact that we do need a little bit of moisture. But nonetheless, welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Coming up on the program today, Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell at 7:30, as we usually do on a Wednesday. Look forward to chatting with him, getting an update from what happened with the county commission meeting last week and the debates that we've been having when it comes to the administration building and some of the shenanigans going on there. We'll get an update there. Also, in the 8 o'clock hour, we talked about it yesterday, but Paul Cohlmia, he is the owner of Riverside Cafe here in the Wichita area, who has started and stirred the pot when it comes to the Second Amendment debate here in the community about whether you feel comfortable going to a place with a firearm in open carry or concealed carry, or just firearms altogether in that restaurant, as they made that comment a couple of days ago on their Facebook page saying we support the Second Amendment and carrying firearms are welcome here at our restaurant. Everybody panicked, everybody freaked, and it caused a stir, made national news, and kind of cool. Kind of cool. I'm still waiting for some of the anti-gunner protesters to come and try and sit in at Riverside Cafe. But nonetheless, we'll talk with Paul coming up in the 8 o'clock hour today on the show. So looking forward to that. Until then, though, it's open lines to you. I want to hear from you. 316-721-8255. I want to start off with this morning. And it seems like this is becoming... Now, I don't know whether this is because of the mentality that individuals have. I don't know if it's because it's literally that difficult to decipher. I wouldn't think it would be, but let me ask you something. Do you know the difference between fact and opinion? Do you know the difference between the two? Because apparently, according to the latest Pew Research survey, Americans grapple with recognizing facts in news stories. Only 25%, only a 0.25% of U.S. adults in recent surveys could fully identify factual statements as opposed to opinion statements in news stories, according to the Pew Research Center. Now, I don't know if it's because individuals see the news and they just turn on the news and assume that it's going to be fact and what they're giving is actual facts. So when they hear it and they hear someone say, yeah, Donald Trump's kind of a jerk. Yeah, Governor Brownback was a horrible governor. Yeah, Republicans actually hate rich people or hate poor people. Yeah, and they hear that in the news, and then they all of a sudden just assume that that is factual statements because they look towards the news for their facts. But can you tell the difference between fact and opinion? So I'm gonna play a little game because I really want to be able to understand why people are not able to decipher between the two. And you would think it would be a relatively easy thing. If someone says this person is a da-da-da-da-da, then you would assume that that would be an opinion. If you hear someone say, I believe or I think, then all of a sudden you would register, okay, this is an opinion. I, myself, here on the radio and on TV, I am an opinion commentator. I use fact, and I give you facts, and then I give you my opinion based on those facts. I'm not reporting news to where I would say, here's the fact, take what you will with it. I do that sometimes, but I get the facts because I'm not going to give you any BS or lie to you about anything. I'm going to give you fact, and then I'm going to give you an opinion because of those facts and based on the facts. And that's how you're supposed to do it, at least in my job. Now, the news, they're not supposed to give you that opinion. They say, here's the stat. Fact. Let's play a little game first off. This is going to be called the Hoosiers Fact or Opinion Challenge.
It's your Pinko Flaming Commie Corner.
And we're going to have a little fun. So I'm going to read off a statement, and you get to decide whether it's going to be fact or opinion. Let's start off with something easy. First off, 53% of the entire Kansas State budget goes to public education. That would be fact. That would be fact. That would not be an opinion because that is fact. You can find those numbers. That actually happens. 53% of the entire state budget goes to public education. Well done. All right. Number 2, Donald Trump is a fascist little meanie head. Trying to decipher between the two, but I'm guessing there's a 50-50 chance. I'm guessing that is probably opinion. There it is. All right. Opinion. That's going to be the opinion sounder, apparently. Number 3, the Kansas State budget has increased every single year without zero cuts in the state budget. That would be something called a fact. Education saying that we've cut their budgets, that is a lie. Hashtag fake news. We haven't cut. In fact, we've actually increased educational funding 2% every single year since 1995. That is a fact. Okay? Number 4. District judge tells Chris Kobach to take classes on how to become a lawyer, and that's a really good thing because Chris Kobach's a little meanie head. That would be an opinion. That is not fact. I don't care what the Topeka Capital Journal tells you. I don't care what the Wichita Eagle tells you. I don't care what the media or the progressives tell you. That is an opinion. That is not fact because a federal judge said so. Just saying. The next one. Progressives play identity politics to divide the nation. Well, you know what? That is a little more of a somewhat opinion piece, but it's still based on fact because we have the evidence to back it up. That would be a fact. Progressives love to divide the nation based on the marginalized classes, based on the victimhood status, and based on identity politics. Go ask a progressive. They will admit it. So that would be a fact. Get a little muddied there, aren't you? Next one. Republicans hate poor people. That would be not just an opinion, but a stupid opinion. Because you obviously have no concept of what Republicans actually believe in, or conservatives, mind you. That would be an opinion. Next one. 60% of the entire federal budget is on autopilot, spending social programs, and can never be cut. That would be called a fact. Whether you like to admit it or not, 60% of our entire federal budget goes towards social programs, and therefore there's nothing you can do about that. It's on autopilot. It increases based on inflation every single year. And when we talk about actually cutting it, then they panic. Not even cutting, but slowing the growth of them, they panic. That would be called a fact because it's backed up and substantiated. That is what we talk about. Last one, there is systematic racism in the U.S. That would be called an opinion. And a stupid one at that. Because there is no systematic racism, and I can actually prove that with fact, but it would be an opinion to believe there's systematic racism in the U.S., and it would be a ridiculous, absurd, stupid one at that. Yeah, that's the game. The Hoosiers fact or crap. When it comes to the political statements, can you tell the difference between fact and opinion? Again, something like this, I give you facts because I have my opinions that I have that are based on facts, and I provide you those facts so that way you understand my thought process on some of this stuff. The progressives and some of the hashtag fake news, they don't do that anymore. So when you turn on the TV, when you read the newspaper, when you listen to certain things, and you hear them say Donald Trump's a big meanie head, Donald Trump's a terrible, horrible human being, Chris Kobach and Governor Brownback and Governor Collier, and they're all just terrible, horrible human beings, that would be an opinion. Not sure if it's that difficult to understand, but we can sure try. Now, Facebook and Alphabet Inc.'s I don't even know what that is. Alphabet Inc., along with Google and other tech companies, have recently come under scrutiny for failing to properly tackle the problem of fake news as more Americans consume news on social media platforms. Well, then you have the whole fake news thing. Again, you just have to go to reputable sources and verify. Trust, but verify everything that you actually hear. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones and get your take on some of this. The fact or opinion, can you tell the difference? Let's go to line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Good morning, Eddie. How are you, sir?
You're talking about facts, okay?
I sure try, yes.
Yeah, my family and I, and my daughter and her girls and et cetera like that, we've been eating at Riverside restaurant now for about the past 7 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And on the doors of all of the restaurants, it says concealed carry permit holders welcome. There's never been a problem. There's never, it's always full. They have delicious food. There's never a problem. So why does the paper want to stir up problems at an eating establishment that is very safe, very good people, very good food, is always packed?
Sure.
I've always felt safe there, and why are we going so ridiculous over guns all of a sudden?
Well, it's an interesting comment. Now, I will give credit to the newspaper. They didn't really start the fiasco. What happened was that Riverside Cafe actually on their Facebook page ended up posting the same sticker what they have on their door and just said that, guns are welcome in our restaurant and we support the Second Amendment. That's all they did. And it was nothing new because, as you mentioned, you've gone there and you've seen the sticker in front of their door. That's all they did was they posted that same picture with the gun with the green circle around it saying guns are welcome, we support the Second Amendment. They put that on their Facebook and people lost their minds. There were hundreds of comments of people saying, oh my gosh, going from, I can't believe that you would do that and that's a very unsafe venue and I wouldn't trust my children there and I'm never going to go there again. Other people saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much for actually doing that. We're now going to begin going there more frequently because we support what you're doing. And it caused an entire fiasco on social media, and the media picked up on it. They said, hey, look at this. There's this crazy thing going on social media. This restaurant supports Second Amendment, which they have for a really long time, and now people are all up in arms about it. It even made it to Fox News because it made national news with how divisive that this story ended up becoming.
Oh, this is the biggest bunch of bull crap. I mean, good God. Listen, I've eaten there with my 2 little granddaughters back when they were babies.
Sure.
I felt perfectly safe. It is good environment. They have good food. And the people that work there are good people. The owner works there sometimes, and he's a very fine man. They treat their customers with respect.
Oh, absolutely.
It is nothing wrong. By the way, I wanted to ask you, going back on Father's Day, what kind of a darn old devil-worshipping T-shirt were you wearing anyway?
You're talking about last Friday. That would be
okay. Last Friday,
yeah. That would be my Viking metal band called Amon Amarth, and every Friday I like to have a little fun T-shirt. And yes, that is my Viking metal, and it is a wonderful band. They actually came to town about this time last year, actually, and was really excited to be able to go to that. They were on my bucket list to go and see, and I had to get a concert T-shirt because that's kind of the tradition with a metal band.
Better not put it on your Facebook. People are going to say, Andy Hoozer's a devil worshiping. Look at his T-shirt.
That's right. Look at the T-shirt there. What's really funny about all of that is that it's so funny. The really hard metal that I like to listen to and some of that stuff, it gets such a bad reputation for like the whole devil worshiping and really dark stuff. And it's really not. 90% of the metal bands that I listen to that's like that they growl and they scream and they have the double bass and the crazy guitars. They're Christian bands that I listen to. Now, Amon Amarth isn't there because they focus on the Vikings and war stories and, the mythological creatures that they slay during battle and the stories of that kind of stuff. And I mean, they're kind of fun in that sense. But the majority of the bands that I listen to like that are actually really good messages and have a Christian message to them. So, you know what? We're trying to change that little by showing that, hey, you know what? Not all crazy metal has a bad message to it.
Well, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and believe me, these people today, these young people, they have nothing compared to what we had.
I will say,
Lord Almighty!
I would have loved to have been around at right around that 50s, 60s time when rock and roll really became a thing and it was really, really booming. And I would have loved to have been there to see how that all evolved.
Anyway, Andy, as far as truth and fiction, there's so damn much fiction going on anymore. But anyway, I just wanted to call and say that Riverside Cafe, a beautiful place, beautiful owners, beautiful people there. I feel perfectly safe, and this is just a bunch of craziness. Mm-hmm. That's all it is, Andy.
It really
is. A bunch of craziness.
It really is. It brought out the trolls on social media with everybody all fired up and triggered about Second Amendment rights and guns and having guns in a business. And oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I guarantee you that come the next legislative session, there's going to be somebody up there from on the progressive side of the aisle saying we need to begin to ban guns from public venues like restaurants because I don't feel safe taking my children there. But as you mentioned, it's completely safe. It's a great environment. But because they saw that sticker that accepts them and openly welcomes people, and they have no idea who's in there with a concealed carry or not, they feel triggered and unsafe, and they want that stopped. So they will abuse their power to shut down your rights to be able to carry that firearm if you want to walk into that venue with one.
Anyway, Andy, I love you very much, and sorry for calling your T-shirt devil worshiping. I just kind of... I just have to go by what my little eyes see.
You know what? That's all right. That is my job, not only to try and educate a little bit on the political front, but also to try and open people's minds to different things as well. And rock and roll and metal is one of those things that I'm working on slowly, but I'll get you to listen to some of that, Eddie. I'll get you on there.
Sure, even the devil has wings, okay?
I love it. Eddie, appreciate the call, my friend, very much, sir. 316-721-8255. Well, that's it. See, no devil worshiping, I promise you. Actually, it's on the other side of that. But I will get you. I will get every one of my listeners to be like, yeah, I dig that stuff. I'll get it on there. I promise you. 23 minutes past the hour, lots to get to today. This is the Voice of Reason here on KQAM.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Minutes past the hour. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Happy Wednesday. Waking you up the right way. You can decide for that one however you choose to do so. Let's go to the phones, get your phone calls. What do you say? 316-721-8255. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name? Hello. Going once, going twice. Give me a call back. I want to hear from you. 316-721-8255. Lots more to get to. When we come back, I want to shift gears a little bit, but I still want to get your thoughts on the fact versus opinion. Can you tell the difference between the two? Can you tell the difference between fact and opinion? That's going to be a tough one for some people. Apparently, according to Pew Research Center with their surveys that they've done, being able to test some individuals. Let's go back to the phone, try and sneak in a phone call before the bottom of the hour news. Good morning. What's your name? Hello. Yeah, how we doing?
Hey, great. This
Good.
Is Pancho.
Yeah, what's going on, Pancho?
I woke up this morning and turned on Breitbart, which I usually do, and lo and behold, Pat Roberts signed on to the don't force the border, immigration border laws until after we pass something. And I just wanted to encourage everybody to melt Pat Roberts' phones down in Washington and local.
Absolutely.
I tried to shoot him an email, but that apparently has been blocked so that he won't get emails or something.
Oh, I didn't realize that they blocked it off there. I know that once he gets enough phone calls, he kind of shuts down the phone lines. But you're right, absolutely. Make sure to make some phone calls, talk about that. I mean, it is, I guess if we're going to do something, then let's make sure that we get something done productively. So let's make some phone calls to Jerry Moran, to Pat Roberts, to Kevin Yoder, to Ron Estes, to all of our elected officials, and actually make sure that they know what the priorities are here. The whole separating the families thing is kind of that side issue and the side effect of what actually is happening. So, Pancho, I appreciate it, my friend. Got to take a break, but make some phone calls. I want to talk about that when we come back a little bit as we get into the immigration debate. Again, I know you're sick of hearing about it, but there's a lot of things moving very, very quickly on this. Stay tuned.
for entertaining radio.
This is your fault, too, man. I keep missing Rush Limbaugh's morning update every morning because I'm listening to your show.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome back in. Starting off your morning the best way we know how to do so by, getting you all fired up about politics. That's what we do. Welcome in. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It's great to have you along today on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. We got a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. And our last caller segued perfectly into the immigration debate as it is still ongoing. We need to be aware of this. We need to be making some phone calls. There was a letter sent by Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah to Attorney General Jeff Sessions asking to stop the zero-tolerance policy, which results in the separation of families detained at the border. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man. And here's the thing. Before we go any further with this, let's remember the real issue here. There are people breaking the law. It's a very simple concept. There's something called the defined line, the arbitrary line of when one nation begins with its rules and laws and where the other nation ends with its rules and laws. And if you cross that line when no one allowed you to cross that line, then you are breaking the law. I saw a social media post today, this morning actually, right as we were getting ready, and they said, what would you say if it's the last time you saw your children and it's the last time as people are rounding you up, putting the handcuffs on you and taking you away? What would you tell your children in those last moments? You know what I would tell them? And I said this on social media as well. I said, here's exactly what I would tell them. I'm sorry that I put my family into that situation. I knew it was against the law. I knew that we could potentially get in trouble. And I did it because I broke the law. That was my decision that I made, and I messed it up, and my family is hurting because of the actions that I did. The same thing that a drug addict that gets hauled away for distributing drugs or using drugs or whatever ends up getting in trouble for, and said, you know what, I'm sorry because I, holding the personal responsibility, made that decision to do that drug, to be able to consume that, to get myself into trouble, and then I get hauled away while my family suffers because of that. That is my fault. That is nobody else's fault, and I take full responsibility. That's what I would say. I'm sorry because I let you down. I was trying to provide for you, and I made a bad mistake. That's what I would say. Now, that's not what they would say because they play the victimhood status, so it's always somebody else's fault. But there is the letter that Orrin Hatch sent, Senator Orrin Hatch, to Jeff Sessions, asking to not to separate the families when they get detained at the border. We support the administration's efforts to enforce our immigration laws, but we cannot support implementation of a policy that results in the categorical forced separation of minor children from their parents. The Republican senators wrote, we therefore ask to halt implementation of the department's zero-tolerance policy while Congress works out a solution that enables faster processing individuals who enter our country illegally without requiring the forced, inhumane separation of children from their parents. Now, 13 different senators signed this, including our very own Senator Pat Roberts from the state of Kansas. All of them including, by the way, John McCain, Pat Roberts, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Bob Corker, Lamar Alexander, John Boozman, Dean Heller, Cory Gardner from Colorado, James Lankford down in Oklahoma, Bill Cassidy, and Rob Portman. List through that list again and think about what side of the philosophical aisle they actually lean on. Every single one of those, for the most part, are very moderate, left-leaning Republicans signing this letter trying to ask for the stop of the separation of the families. John McCain didn't even know that he was actually still active doing his thing. I guess that's good, but again, on the wrong side of the aisle. Pat Roberts, unfortunately, being part of this letter. Why? We need to remember the separation of the families is the side effect of the real issue. Why are we focusing on, and we always do this, every political issue, we never focus on the serious issue. We never focus on the real issue. We just talked about at statewide levels in numerous different states about increasing spending for the social services to take kids away because that we don't have enough money in order to take care of the kids that we're stripping away from their families. Really? So it's okay for us to increase the spending for social services to be able to take the kids away from their families when they live in poor conditions, but it's not okay to arrest the parents when they actually break the law and do something bad. That's number one hypocrisy. Hypocritical statement, line number one. on June 20th, 2018. Number 2, we always address the wrong issue. Social services, instead of saying, you know what, let's do a promotion and a PSA focusing on family involvement and the unison of the family and the good family values and the traditional family values. So that way we don't need social services because there's not going to be a bunch of jerks out there doing stupid stuff when they have children. Then, you know what, we can start cutting the funding on these government programs like social services. Why are we not focused on the number one main issue when it comes to immigration? And that is the fact that people are coming across the border illegally. We read the headline yesterday from Drudge Report. Over 250 children a day are coming across our borders. 250 a day that we're detaining, that we're trying to figure out what the hell to do with. That is the consequence of what's happening right now. That is the byproduct of what's happening right now. The deeper issue is that we have people coming across the border. You address that issue, you fix that issue, and guess what? You're not going to have a bunch of children being separated from their families because they're not trying to come across the border illegally. Why are we trying to put the Band-Aid on the side effect and not the actual issue? Drives me nuts. But Senator Pat Roberts signing the letter asking to not tear the families apart, being part of the 13 senators that ended up signing this, sending it to Attorney General Jeff Sessions' office, urging President Donald Trump in order to not split families apart. I know Ted Cruz came out as well yesterday. He had a alternative bill that would not separate the families, but try to counter what the Democrats' proposals are. This is going to be the main talking point because they were looking for their side project. They were looking for their side distraction, and they found it. Everybody's all up in arms about it now. Everybody's all fired up about children being stripped away from their families. That's now the emotional argument that everybody's focused on. So no matter what comes out of the Senate or what comes out of the House, when those bills are crafted, that'll be the one question that they ask. It's not going to be about building the wall. It's not going to be about beefing up security. It's not going to be about stopping chain migration. It's not going to be about what to do to address the Visa cards and whether it's going to be easier or whether it's going to be more difficult. It's not going to be about any of that. It's going to be about the children and are we going to separate families? Because they found their distraction. 316-721-8255. Let's get your phone calls on this. Let's go to the phones line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. This is Deacon.
Deacon, what's happening, sir?
Man, you know it's a beautiful day out here.
Every day. I'm sure you're loving the little bit cooler weather.
Oh, yeah. I started this morning. It was raining a little bit. It was beautiful.
I love it.
Keep that dust down today. You don't have to eat so much of that.
There you go.
But, you just said a mouthful, brother. Your monologue on this segment right here, it was a mouthful. Because I was calling in to say, the way to tell the difference between fact and opinion.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
It doesn't really matter because conservatives, we use our heads. Liberals use their heart. They use their emotions. So it doesn't matter if it's a fact or if it's an opinion because they've already made up their mind before they get the facts.
That's a really good point.
As a conservative, we get the facts before we make opinions.
Sure.
They make opinions before they get facts.
That's true because and it really shows with how they actually operate is they have their decisions, so they want the end result to mimic what they're feeling regardless what the actual facts are, and they'll twist the facts, they'll manipulate the facts, they'll delete the facts, they'll ignore the facts, they'll do whatever it takes in order to get the end result of what they want because, as you mentioned, their emotional, touchy-feely side, their heart says that this is the end result that they want, so they'll just create. It's kind of like the university studies nowadays and a lot of the different science research projects and the different grants that we give to different universities to do different research projects is that before is a normal science. If you remember going through a science class back in middle school, before you would create your hypothesis of what you wanted to do and what you thought would happen, and then you would go through the test, and then you would report on what the actual results were in the end and whether you were correct or whether you were incorrect. That's the way a science project used to be. Today, they say, this is the end result that I want. How can I craft the study in order to make that end result look that way? And that's not science. That is fake science. That is hashtag fake news. And that is, again, with the emotion of what you want as opposed to what reality may or may not be.
Exactly. And the second thing you did, opening this the monologue, when you said, on some news program, they said, "What would you say to your child?"
Mm-hmm.
you as a conservative took responsibility for your actions.
Sure.
You know, son, daughter, whatever, family, I'm sorry, I messed up.
Sure.
A liberal goes, you know what? We got screwed, kids. It was the man.
It's so true. I mean, just imagine right now if someone came to you and said, you know what, you didn't register your car, you didn't go and you didn't renew your registration on your car right now, and it's been expired for the last 2 years. We need to detain you until we fine you like $2,000 or whatever it is because you've let it go for way too long. We're gonna repo your car because it's not registered. So now you're gonna have to get the money to be able to pay the fines and then to get the new registration and then to get it back from us. And that's your one and only vehicle as a family. When you go and tell your family what happened, are you saying, "Oh, the government screwed me because they didn't let me keep my car," or do you say, "Oh, I'm sorry because I didn't register my vehicle, so you know what, I probably should have done that, so that way we're not a vehicleless family now."
Right, and like I've told you before, I work with inmates every day. I work with guys from the minimum security prison down in Winfield, and talking about people being separated from the kids, their kids aren't in prison with them, and they didn't say, "Well, you broke the law and you got 10, 15 years in prison coming to you, but since you have children, we're just going to let you go."
Yeah, why not? We'll just let you stay at home and let you keep doing what you're doing.
See, we are a nation of laws, but see, that used to be where it ended for me. We are a nation of laws.
Sure.
Now, I have to change that. We are a nation of laws unless the liberals don't want to enforce the law.
It's sad you have to put those disclaimers in there, right?
What's the next law that they're going to ignore? It's very frustrating because I try to teach my children right from wrong, and it's fluid in today's society.
That is very true. It's a very difficult world to live in. Deacon, I love it, my friend. I appreciate it very much. You're absolutely right. I mean, and that's a great analogy. I mean, if you get asked, because that's what they're asking. I saw it on social media today, on Twitter and on Facebook, twice from two different people. And I commented on both of them. What would you say to your children if you were in that situation? What I would say is, I'm sorry that I put my family in that position, because that was my own damn fault. I'm sorry. That was my issue. I broke the law, and guess what? My family's going to suffer for it, so I'm sorry. Because my family would probably never trust me again for doing something stupid like that. Again, you have a vehicle. You didn't register it. You decided not to. You decided just to drive it without registration. You decided to drive it without it being licensed. You decided just to do about your thing because, hell, you get to do whatever you want to do, right? That's the better for your family. Maybe you couldn't afford it at that time. Well, guess what? Now you get to pay the fines and you get to pay the relicensing, and then you got to go get your car back because they took your car or they took your license. Now you're not allowed to drive. Guess what? Is that your fault or is it the government's fault for taking it away from you? Because, well, it's just not fair. Put it in the perspective of you and be in those shoes. What would you say? Should say at least that you're sorry and that it was nobody else's fault but you. Let's go back to the phones line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Scott.
Hey, Scott. What's going on, sir?
Well, I think the family of the man who was murdered by the police should pass a petition around to request that the officer Rapp be fired from the police force because he is a safety hazard to the community here in Wichita.
Well, he got cleared, though, so how could they fire him?
Well, they could easily fire him because if the citizens decided they don't trust him in hazardous situations, he needs to be fired.
Well, I guess.
He got collaborators. The Attorney General collaborates with the police all the time. He has to play ball with them, so he had to let them go. Well, I understand that part, but the people here have the final say because they can elect new officials, whether it be city council members, county commissioners, whoever. They can reelect other people in there to do the job. So, but as far as the petition goes, it needs to be where the people can show their support for that family.
Well, I guess you could. I appreciate it, Scott. I don't want to go I don't want to go sidetrack too terribly much on that, but I will say my response to that is that if something happens at your home and you call 911 and the cops show up, and if he's one of them, I don't know if you would necessarily recognize him and say, you know what, I'd rather be stuck with whatever situation is going on in my home rather than you being there. I doubt that you would say that, but maybe. I don't know. 316-721-8255. Let's go back to the phone. Let's take another one here before a break. Line number 3. Good morning. What's your name?
Hi, Andy. This is Helen.
Helen, what's going on?
Well, I like your little game that you started out with, fact or opinion game.
Sure.
So I have like a little question quiz for you.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me which political party this sounds like or, fits the most. Okay, Marxism, the political and economic ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels as developed into a system of thought that gives class struggle a primary role in leading society from bourgeois democracy under capitalism to a socialist society and thence to communism.
Well, that would definitely be a fact on the definition of what communism actually is, or Marxism and what that definition actually is. And that would be the Bernie Sandersite mentality that some people just don't grasp because they don't understand the devastations of that type of ideology.
Well, doesn't that fit the Democrats and the progressives?
Well, sure. The progressives and the Democrats and the liberals and what they believe in right now, and the fact that they're moving towards that way openly with the entire quote-unquote Bernie Sanders revolution. Great point, Helen. I appreciate it. We got to take a break. We're late on a run here, wrapping up hour number 1. But there it is, fact or crap. That one's definitely fact. And it's Hoosiers' game of fact or crap. And that's the way we like to roll right here on The Voice of Reason. Can you tell the difference between fact and opinion when it comes to some of the news outlets reporting, hey, you know what? Let's redistribute wealth. Guess what? That's a good thing. We love that when you hear all the talking heads, fact or opinion. And that would be a bad opinion, by the way, as well. 8 minutes at the top of the hour. This is The Voice of Reason.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Well, I guess Kansas is making the news again when our very own Senator Pat Roberts signs onto the bill along with 13 other Republicans and Democrats saying, hey, let's not separate the families. Let's remember, we need to get away from the distractions of issues like, let's not separate the family, and let's focus on the real issue of people are breaking the law and coming across our borders when they're not supposed to. That's the main issue. That's what we need to focus on. That's what we need to address. And if we don't, then we're never going to solve the other issues, like people coming across illegally, drugs coming across, human trafficking coming across, guns coming across, people being separated from their families, terrible ordeal in life, and the struggle that they make to actually do the trip to try and come up here. We'll never fix those things unless we address the number one issue, and that is the fact that people are breaking the law and they're coming across the border. We address that, and it's crazy. Everything else just kind of falls into place, doesn't it? Then we can address the whole DACA thing. It's like, same argument for the DACA recipients. You've been here for 30 years. Yeah, it wasn't your fault initially when you came here. Guess what? Now you have a family. You've been here for 30 years. You're still here potentially illegal. You try to do the DACA thing. Guess what? DACA's not there. You better go through the process. If you don't, is that your fault or is it the parents' fault and you can still play the victim 30 years later? Give me a break. We never want to take personal responsibility anymore. Drives me nuts. Hour number 2 coming up. Lots more to get to. We're going to shift gears a little bit to our state universities in Kansas and the funding, and them a little excited about more funding coming to them while they still claim budgetary issues. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on The Voice of Reason.
Speak. It's time for Reason.
Because now we're introducing the one thing that we have that can actually change the mentality of the people that we're trying to influence, and that is capitalism. We can change their diplomacy. We can change their leaders. We can overthrow the dictators. We can try and quote-unquote free the people, but unless the people know what to do with that freedom, they're lost. The one way that we can change things is introduce capitalism.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about.
Don't get fooled again.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 2. The Voice of Reason broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation. Here in Wichita, Kansas on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on KGBT-TV, channel 2610. Hey, it's great to have you along. We're up on Facebook Live as well, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Go on there, like it, share. We got a lot of people checking it out this morning, and we do appreciate that very, very much. We had a great first hour, a lot of great conversation. We'll continue it on with this one. Coming up, bottom of the hour, we have Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell. He'll join us as he usually does on a Wednesday, giving us an update from the county. In the 8 o'clock hour, Paul Cohlmia, he's the owner of Riverside Cafe, as you know, and we talked about yesterday, I'm sure you've seen it in the news, of the social media comment they made, which is nothing new, nothing shocking, nothing crazy, of them supporting the Second Amendment and encouraging people to feel comfortable to carry their firearm in the restaurant if they choose to do so, and the mayhem that ensued thereafter. So we'll talk with the owner of Riverside Cafe, Paul Cohlmia, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Looking forward to very much so. He's a great sponsor and great supporter of KQAM Radio and the Voice of Reason show. So we appreciate that very much. He's a great individual. Look forward to chatting with him coming up in just a bit. But it is open lines to you, 316-721-8255. I want to shift gears a little bit from the immigration debate for just a minute. You can comment on it if you want to. It is going to be an ongoing thing. Remember, though, we have 2 bills out of the House. The last time I heard, at least, there are 2 bills in the House, 1 bill in the Senate that are trying to address immigration. Everybody's all up in arms about this whole separating the children sort of thing, and we're being distracted yet again by an emotional argument that has nothing to do with the real addressing of the real issues, which is actually immigration and people coming here illegally. Then we wouldn't have to worry about all this. But like usual, we have to find a way to sidetrack ourselves with that. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. 316-721-8255. Let's kick off hour number 2 with a phone call. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Neil.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Good.
Yeah, I have an idea about how to solve this separating the kids.
Okay.
Thing. And that is, we've got a lot of Democrats and various other people that are up in arms about it that have a lot of money. Why don't they put up the bail to let the parents out of jail, offer to put them up in their houses, then they can have these immigrants, illegals, live in their house or some other property that they own with their kids, and just pay the bail and promise to bring the parents to the court when their court date.
Sure. Why not? I mean, come on, they really
if they
care
don't,
about them.
they're out the $500,000 or whatever it is for bail. Bail should be pretty high.
You would think so.
They're a high flight risk by definition because they don't have a home.
They don't have a home.
So,
no, you're right. They should. I mean, maybe Bernie Sanders should donate his 3rd vacation home and be able to allow as many individuals to go there as they want to. I mean, if we're getting 250 children a day, I mean, why not put at least half of those families into one of his big 3rd vacation mansions that he has, where there's like 10 bedrooms anyways, and just have them all pile into there, and then he can take care of them until it's time for them to go to their court hearing and then decide what they're going to do, whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to go, and then we can address it that way. How about that?
Yep, just put their money where their mouth is.
Mm-hmm. That would be appropriate, but of course, I mean, do you really expect the progressives to follow through on their emotional arguments?
No, that's the whole point.
There it is. I appreciate it very much. No, you're right. I mean, if you don't want the family separated, then why don't you do something about it? Here's an idea as well. I was talking over the break. I mean, here's an idea. You don't want them to separate the families. Fine. All right. You know what? How about you incarcerate the children along with the adults? Why not? Throw them in jail together. Then, you know what? If they do end up staying in the country, then they can start off with a criminal record. How is that going to go well for you in a brand new society, a brand new country where you're residing. To me, this is the side issue, and it's not necessarily the important one, and that's what we need to be addressing is the actual issue that could fix all of this. 316-721-8255. We read last hour a study about Pew Research Center, how only a quarter of U.S. adults in recent surveys could fully identify the difference between factual statements and opinions in news stories. You turn on the news, you read the newspaper, you turn on the radio, you're trying to read or listen to trying to figure out things, you're trying to understand, and only 25% could actually properly identify fact from opinion. And we played the game, the difference between what fact is and what opinion is and what it actually. And again, I mean, this show, Andy, you're just a commentator. You're right. I'm just a commentator. I'm not a news person. I'm not giving you the news. I'm giving you fact with opinion in it because I have my opinion based on the facts that I see. For example, let's play this game a little bit again, shall we? The difference between fact or opinion. Hoosiers game of fact or crap right here on KQAM. Budget cuts lead to closing K-State Research Center in Hayesville. That's the latest story that we see from the Wichita Eagle. This came out just a couple of days ago. Kansas State University will close its 120-acre horticulture research center in Hayesville. The university announced as of last week lower state funding for higher education and declining enrollment at K-State led university officials to cut $3.5 million from the College of Agriculture and K-State Research and Extension's budget this year, which in turn led to the decision to close the John C. Pear Horticulture Center, according to a press release from the university. Fact or opinion? Well, it's fact that it's closing. That's my fact sounder. This is my opinion sounder. So there's my two sounders, all right? Let's go through the story again, shall we? Lower state funding for higher education. Stop! That is lies. That is fake news. That is complete opinion to try and make you hate Republicans in our state government. Again, not true! It's unfortunate that we have to break this down like this, don't we? First off, I want to read you two stories. This one from a few years ago. This was in 2014, so it was about 4 years ago, but it still stands because I don't see them going down anywhere. State budget cuts and state funding cuts. Let's talk about where universities get their revenue. Number one, they get them from grants and from government, from state and from the federal government, if they're a state university. Number two is they get them from revenues that they generate. T-shirts, signs, logos, whatever they get, and then their athletic departments. And I want to read you a story from about 4 years ago from the Wichita Eagle. The same kind of story. KU reaches top 20 in revenue. K-State shows athletic surplus for fourth straight year. In this first 3 years at Kansas, athletic director has often used Carpenter's terms to describe his business leadership style. Measuring twice before you cut. Precision is more important than haste, so perhaps it explains why after one of the most lucrative years in KU athletics history, department officials are hoping to clarify the narrative of the balance sheet. Kansas reported a $93 million in revenue for 2013's fiscal year, according to the documents filed with the NCAA. Yes, it was a record-breaking year for KU, which boasted the third highest athletic revenue in the Big 12 behind football powers like Texas and Oklahoma. It also resulted in a surplus of more than $13 million when factoring in KU's reported expenses of $79.7 million. That was the expenses. They brought in over $93 million, and guess what? That was a nice little hearty revenue that they ended up receiving in the top 20 for the nation when it comes to a state university bringing in revenues. K-State, same thing. Fourth straight surplus year when it comes to their athletic department bringing in revenue for the university. Now, that's one side of it. Obviously, a lot of that gets reinvested into the athletics. Some of it goes over to the general fund of the university, depending on how they end up breaking up their budget. But state funds getting cut, ladies and gentlemen, there has not been a state-funded cut of anything since before 2012. If you remember, the reason that we are in such dire straits as an economy here in the state of Kansas is because that in 2012, when he did the major tax reform from Governor Sam Brownback, is that we lowered taxes without lowering a single bit of state spending. Nothing. And tell me once where we've cut anything in the state budget since 2012. Hasn't happened. We've increased in educational spending, K through 12 and higher education. We've increased spending on this program, on that program. We've cut zero, zilch, nothing, nada. It's a lie. So lower state funding for higher education, part of that is completely false. Then you see the declining enrollment at K-State. Why do you think that there's a lower enrollment? Because it's too damn expensive. End of story. It's too expensive. Why would you get into $100,000 of student loan debt to be able to go to 4 years of college and then try and figure out what you're going to do with all the debts? There's a story from kcur.org back in just a few days ago. And they were talking about the budget restorations of state universities, and actually it went up. Public university. This is May 11, 2018, just a month ago. Public universities in Kansas saw some of their funding restored as part of the new state budget. Remember the one that we just increased by about $100 million plus in a state budget when we didn't compensate anywhere with tax revenues in order to compensate for that. We didn't even cut anything. We actually increased spending in some. And now we're restoring money, quote unquote, from public education in higher education from the cuts that were made in what? 2008. Now, let me tell you something. If you made a budget change in 2008, 10 years ago, do you think normally as a business or as an individual that you would have compensated for that and you would have morphed into a new budget plan and you'd be settled by then after 10 years later? You would think so. You would think so. Public universities in Kansas saw some of their funding restored as part of the new budget. The budget restored $15 million of the Kansas Board of Regents in fiscal year 2017. State universities spent about $570 million in state funding. There were some fear that the higher education was going to be cut as a way to pay for the K through 12 funding increases mandated by the Kansas Supreme Court. Twice last December, legislative committees asked the president of the Board of Regents how significant cuts would affect higher education. Quote, by the end of the session, we're pretty optimistic that something could happen because there was additional revenue coming into the state. According to the director of government relations at Wichita State University, the new funding still falls short of the restoring of the $30 million cuts enacted by former Governor Sam Brownback. The higher education cuts were at its height, or the funding was at its height back in 2008 when universities spent about $640 million. Now we're at $570. That's really not that much of a cut. And it's been how many years? And we didn't cut anything since 2012. We haven't cut zero, zilch, nada, nothing. It hasn't happened. So why all of a sudden, 10 years later after budget cuts from higher education, and now we've even increased spending by close to $15 to $20 million in higher education when it comes to the state budget, are now all of a sudden we're seeing a story say, oh, you know what? Budget cuts lead to the K-State Research Center in Hayesville being closed. Yeah, it's expensive, but why are you cutting? You just got money restored to you. You're still with one of the athletic departments, one of the highest grossing revenues in the country when it comes to athletic revenues coming in year over year over year. The government didn't cut into your money. What are you talking about? Am I missing something? Because to me, when you read it and you go back to the, is it fact or is it opinion? This is what you would call hashtag fake news because it's not true. Money coming in higher than what it was before because we increased spending. Athletic departments still doing very well. The only negative side that state universities have right now is the declining enrollment because it's too expensive, and they try and pawn off every time that they want to increase their spending. They pawn it off to tuition hikes to the students, and they can't afford it, so they've seen a decline in students. So maybe that's hurt them enough. But use that, if that's the case, then use that as the example. Hey, you know what? We got to close our research center. There's not enough students. We're seeing a student decline when it comes to student enrollment, and we're just not giving enough money coming in from student loans in order to have the number of students here to actually do something productive. We're not seeing it. Got to close it. Why would you try and throw in the idea of state fund cuts? Because that's a lie. That is fake news, and it hasn't happened. In fact, for the first time in a few years, they actually restored some of the budget cuts that happened 10 years ago that you hopefully have been able to compensate for 10 years ago with your budget, because that's the way any normal family budget or any normal business budget would actually absorb a difference in budgets year over year. 10 years ago would be a little bit drastic. And now you're still shutting this down because of budget cuts. I don't understand where this is coming from. Lies. fake news, and opinion over fact. It really makes sense now why some people have the hard distinction to not be able to decide or be able to pick out the difference between fact and opinion. Mind-boggling, isn't it? 22 minutes past the hour. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Giving you the news that you need, giving you the information that you need, giving you the opinion, the entertainment, waking you up the right way. Decipher that one however you like. Fact or opinion. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. It's fascinating to watch some of the media when they try and report things and the way they twist it just a little bit. Again, us having to decipher through that, which is why you listen to this, because we try and break that down for you. When they say that we've cut education, whether it's higher education or K through 12, then you know it is a lie. You know that it is because it hasn't happened. In fact, we've actually increased educational spending by 2% every single year since 1997 for K through 12. So they say, we don't have enough money. Yeah, okay. Then you talk about the higher education with the state of Kansas and all the state universities, and then budget cut. Maybe they did their own budget cuts, but it wasn't coming from the state. The state didn't cut their Board of Regents. The state didn't cut their state money to higher education. That didn't come from there, so it must have came from somewhere else. So if they ended up doing cuts, it was on their own prerogative, not on the court of the government, and therefore the decisions that they make about the terribleness of actually the having to shut down something like a research center. And don't get me wrong, it's sad. It's not a good thing. I mean, we kind of need more farmers and more people in agriculture and horticulture, and we need individuals in this line. This is bad. It's not good news. But we need to address just be straight with us. Be real with us, bro. If you're going to start blaming people and pointing fingers of why it's actually being shut down, we need to look at the realistic side of this. And say that, it's not the government, but it was just the declining enrollment, and it was just the fact that they're doing their own budget cuts as a state university. Just be straight with us, bro. That's all it is. I mean, we have to be, if we're going to address issues and fix issues, then you just have to realize what the real issue is. Stop creating fake stories and fake anger in order to get people all fired up. Naturally, with budget reductions, there are difficult decisions, according to the College of Agriculture, K-State Research and Extension Center. We value the history and contributions of our faculty at the center, as everybody does. Budget reductions are difficult decisions. Yes, they are. Guess what? Welcome to the real world. Welcome to the family budget. Welcome to the business budget when the government decides to give you more money as a state entity and they end up raising taxes on businesses and individuals. Yeah, budget reductions are difficult, aren't they? Yeah. It's not happening to you, though. It's happening to us, unless there's just not enough students that actually get enough money to go to the school because it's too expensive, because you spend a lot of money. And then you got the revenue from the athletic department, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. That's a good thing. They're actually able to sustain themselves. And then the bottomless pit sucks it right up. Bottom of the hour news coming up. We'll shift gears when we come back. Sedgwick County Commissioner Jim Howell going to be joining us. This is the Voice of Reason.
Waking up the right way.
I look forward to listening to you every morning when I get ready for work.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
That's what we're talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Starting off your morning better than a cup of coffee, a shot of espresso, even an energy drink right here on the Voice of Reason. We love it. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It's good times indeed. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. By the way, speaking of Riverside Cafe, Brought to you by this segment. We have Paul Cohlmia, owner of Riverside Cafe, joining us in about a half hour talking about their big news that they came out. I mean, it's no news to them. It's been the same policy that they've been having, but got the media attention on social media, got the people freaking out about it. It made national news on Fox News. So kind of interesting there. We'll talk with Paul coming up in just about a half hour from now. Until then, it is that time. We do it every single week at this time on Wednesday. And we love having him on the show, giving us the scoop and the lowdown, what's happening at the county commission meeting. Sedgwick County Commissioner, Mr. Jim Howell. Jim, what's happening, my friend?
Well, good morning, Andy. Thanks for the chance to speak. Today's Wednesday. We would normally have a meeting today, but because some commissioners, I think, are out of pocket, we decided to cancel today's meeting, and we're going to do our meeting next week. So, again, a couple of unusual changes. Normally, we would meet today, and we would not meet the last Wednesday, but that's exactly opposite for what we're doing right now. We're not going to meet this week, but we are going to meet next week on the 27th, and because of that, we don't even have a draft agenda out yet. So I don't know exactly what's going to be on that agenda yet. I do have a couple of ideas. I've been looking at some of the stuff that the manager puts out, so I can tell some things are going to be on there. So it'll be interesting. But in terms of what else is going on, I guess along that line, along that line, our budget is plodding forward. It's probably the biggest thing that any governing body does is pass a budget. But the recommended changes from commissioners, our deadline for those recommended changes is actually today. And the next thing is the manager will now publish his budget. It gets released to the public for the public to see what's happening, all the changes that are going to be recommended from the manager and the commissioners. Of course, there's not consensus on that necessarily. You're just doing a kind of a starting point, a public starting point. And the next thing that's going to happen would be we're going to have a couple of public budget hearings where the public is actually encouraged and invited to come and attend our meetings and request recommended changes or make comments on our budget. And those dates, if anybody's interested, I know it sounds like a little ways out, but time flies. So I'll just tell you right now, our first public budget hearing is going to be on July the 25th. That's at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the one after that's going to be on August the 9th. That's at 6 o'clock p.m. And both of those are going to be in the county commission boardroom. So those budget hearings are coming up. After that, commissioners will make changes, probably on the 15th. And we'll make a number of changes, I'm sure. I have no doubt that I'll have some amendments to the budget. At that point, we will vote, and the budget will be done for fiscal 2019. So that's kind of the process that's coming up.
Well, it's coming up pretty quick, too.
It is. It happens so fast, but even though it feels like it's fast, but we started this process literally in the end of the previous year. So once you pass the budget, you get about 60 days to kind of breathe a little bit, and then the process starts over again.
Sure.
The other big things coming up, I don't know if the public's even seen this yet. It's just barely in the news right now. But the Greyhound Park is coming up for auction. Commissioners have decided to sell that property. They may or may not realize that the Sedgwick County taxpayers actually own the Greyhound Park. It is currently being leased to Mr. Ruffin. He has the authority and the license from the state to operate a Greyhound racing pari-mutuel betting facility there, but he has said he doesn't want to do that without the slots or whatever. So he's trying to change the state law. He's trying to see if we can get another Sedgwick County vote. So that's kind of all happening on the side. But in the middle of all that, the county commission has decided rather than collecting $1.5 million over the next 15 years or so, we're more interested, I guess, in auctioning that property off. So that is coming up. That'll be a very interesting auction on July 17th. So if anybody out there who has a little bit of money they want to throw out something like a dog track or something, maybe they can bid on that on July 17th.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
As a side issue, I don't know if people know this or not. We collect what's called a solid waste fee. It's like $5.88 per parcel per year. So on your property tax bill, you'll see a tiny little charge. You don't know what that's for. Well, one of the things we do with that money, we do the e-waste collection event we did about a month ago. We do tire roundups every other year or so. But one thing we do with that money, we actually operate the hazardous waste facility, the environmental waste facility or environmental resources facility down on Stillwell. Well, parallel to that, we also do community collections. And so we have a community collection of hazardous waste materials in Derby at the Derby High School this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there's one of these in every one. This is mine this year. This is the Southeast collection. We had one last week out, I think, in Garden Plain. And there's going to be, I think, a few more of these coming up still. But this one is this coming Saturday, June 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 920 North Rock Road. That's in Derby. And we will collect things like used, paint, motor oil, fertilizer, cleaning chemicals, batteries, all kinds of things that you don't want to put in the landfill because it can pollute groundwater and things like that. So we collect that stuff up. We've got a team of people that will be set up to collect that this coming Saturday. So that's coming up, and it's paid for with that solid waste fee. This is just one of the many, many, many things that is done with that small fee.
Sure. Fantastic.
I don't really have a whole lot else to tell you other than the vaping policy did pass. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, that's good. Let's go back to the meeting from last week, because I know that it was a relatively interesting meeting, both with the discussion when it comes to the administration building and kind of where we're at with that discussion, along with, as you mentioned, the vote with the vaping laws that happened last week as well, and whether we'd be regulating the vaping the same we would be as cigarettes. How did we end up voting on this one?
Well, the policy change did pass, 3-2. I did vote against that along with Commissioner Ranzaw. It did pass, but so what that means is now inside public buildings in Sedgwick County, whether this is really for employees. However, we haven't really dealt with the issue of the public just yet, but I have a feeling that's coming. But for employees, we treat this exactly the same as cigarettes. And so if an employee is in a cubicle, let's say, and they do something that's in their little office space, or they have got a designated area that they could, warm up their lunch or whatever, it would be a place where they could be out of the public's eye. Our policy had allowed them to use vaping, a nicotine delivery system, other than having to go outside and smoke a cigarette, which a lot of people would do. So our policy differentiated between the two, said that you could do certain things with vaping, different things with smoking cigarettes, but now we treat them exactly the same. My opinion is the science doesn't support that type of a policy. But that's just me. I'm not pro vaping or cigarette smoking, but I do see a significant difference on the science side of this, and so I just think this is kind of a dumb policy.
Well, so what you're saying?
But nevertheless, I got outvoted.
No, so what you're saying is that someone who vapes because maybe they enjoy vaping, or that they are trying to get off from cigarettes, or whatever the case may be, because of the big plum of vapor smoke and water vapor, we're now going to say that that's just as dangerous as cigarettes, and you're not allowed to be around that. So even if you have to vape, then you have to step outside to blow your puff of vaping smoke just like you do with a cigarette, because that makes total sense in the world.
Well, I'll just tell you, let me ask you, Andy, is it fact or myth that e-cigarettes are more dangerous than cigarettes?
Fact or opinion? Well, that one would be the fact that they are just as dangerous would be an opinion or an ill-informed message. If we're talking about the fact that vaping would actually be somewhat marginally better for you than cigarettes, that would be a fact. But apparently that doesn't necessarily matter, because we just don't want any smoke at all, even a plum of vape smoke, to be in a workplace. So
and yes, and you said it right. It actually is. It's water vapor. I'm not sure if anybody's interested in this or not, because it's already, number one, it's already history. But I think the debate was interesting. We had about a 42-minute debate on the bench. Lots of facts were provided. I spent a lot of time preparing for that meeting, and I just see this as an opportunity to educate. Again, I'm not pro-vaping, but I do think people don't know what's in vaping liquids. Let me just tell you real quickly. It's 4 ingredients. It's vegetable glycerin, which is an FDA-approved substance for human consumption. It's propylene glycol, not ethylene glycol. People get them confused. Ethylene glycol is for your car. That's called antifreeze. It will kill you if you drink it. But propylene glycol is used in things like toothpaste. It's another substance. It's approved by the FDA for human consumption. That's the 2 primary ingredients in vaping. Then they add usually flavor, And by the way, the county policy required odorless, so the flavor would not be there. It's just simply the nicotine only. And then, of course, the fourth ingredient is nicotine. It could be anything from 0% nicotine up to, they've got a certain different levels of milliliters of nicotine per whatever. My point is, the nicotine can be different concentrations. And so people say, well, then you're exhaling nicotine. Well, a couple things. Number one, you're not, because the body metabolizes that, and you're actually exhaling carbon dioxide as normal breathing would. And by the way, the formaldehyde is part of normal breathing. People actually exhale formaldehyde. It's interesting that all the things that get connected to vaping, but no one adds formaldehyde or adds heavy metals to vaping.
But here's even the bigger picture of all this, even with all the science behind it, as you know very, very well, and I mean, you're very familiar with this issue. Even above all of that, where is it okay for the government to tell a private business that your employee is not allowed to blow water vapor into the air near coworkers in a private business? To me, where does the government get off thinking that that's okay?
Well, you would think if you were actually harming other people, that might make some sense, okay? But that's the question. Are you harming other people? And that unfortunately, the science doesn't seem to matter in this case. Because, political correctness, the Bloombergs of our community think that, well, it looks like it's a cigarette, therefore it must be bad. And I don't like cigarettes, therefore I don't like vaping. I understand the logic, but it's just silly.
Well, see, I'm still even with the mindset of when it comes to the public venues or private venues that it should be open to the business owner to decide. Even when it comes to cigarettes, if you want to open a bar that allows smoking in there while you have a drink, then you have the prerogative. And if people don't like that and don't like going in and breathing in secondhand smoke, don't go to that bar. It's a very simple concept, and the business owners have the right to make the decisions what they want to do with their business and with their private clubs, and I don't think the government should be involved in any of this, regardless of whether it's healthy for you or not. That's their decision to make.
The parallel to that is, of course, do you want the government telling you what you can do on your own private property?
Sure.
We talk about businesses, but what about your home? You want them regulating what you can and cannot do in your home. Really, it's exactly the same argument.
And don't think that it's not going to be eventually one of those mindsets of saying, oh, you know what, you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes in your own home anymore either, because it could be a fire hazard. So therefore, if you catch fire because you drop an ash and it catches, then your insurance won't cover it. So the nice little threat there. Or will you go in to try and sell it, and the appraiser sees that there's the smoke or the stains, whatever, on the walls because of the smoke, and it reeks in there, then we're going to evaluate it a heck of a lot lower because of, or whatever. I mean, you see this of saying, well, we can't technically tell you what to do in your private home, but we will make sure there's repercussions if you end up doing that. I can see those types of arguments being made.
Well, the government does kind of regulate and tell people what they can and cannot do in their homes already. I can think of a lot of examples to that.
It's
so it just matches the issues of private property ownership and personal responsibility. What kind of government do we want? We want them to tell us how to live our lives in every regard, especially when we're not doing any harm to other people. That's a great discussion. I know I can think of a lot of other behaviors where those exact same phrases might be used. And
sure.
Typically, most people in our culture say, well, we don't want the government telling us, what we can and can't do in our own homes, but yet they'll support this in private businesses. Yeah, I tell you what, I agree with you, Andy. I think private businesses should have the right. And I know you'll have a caller call in a minute and say, well, I don't want to go to a restaurant that's got someone smoking cigarettes. I don't want to see the vaping. Look, I get it. Then go somewhere else where they don't allow it. Let the private businesses choose. I think it's fine. I don't like cigarette smoking. I won't go to a restaurant that has cigarette smoking. And I remember when it was not outlawed by the state, there were certain restaurants that did not allow cigarette smoking, and I favored them.
Sure.
That's where I went. And in terms of this vaping, I don't personally mind the Skittles and the cotton candy smells. It's fine with me, but if it really bothers somebody, again, this policy that the county just got rid of
when is going to be
the next odorless devices.
Sure. When's the next policy decision going to be made to where businesses aren't going to be allowed to carry firearms or allow concealed carry firearms in their restaurants?
Well, that's a good discussion, and if you lived in some other state, that would already be decided for you. Thankfully,
exactly.
Kansas has good laws. I want to credit the Kansas State Rifle Association for bringing good laws to our state.
Well, I don't know if we're scared.
That's absolutely a threat.
But if we're scared of water vapor, then who's to say when we're going to be scared of guns and we're going to do the same thing? We got about a minute left. I don't want to run out of time here, but I do want to get an update as well when it comes to the administrative building. I know it's been kind of a hot topic as well. But what was the discussion? What did that look like last week as well?
Well, we we are at the point right now where I think there's so much conflict on this building at the moment. We've decided, one of the commissioners made the motion to push this back to after budget adoption. So August the 15th is probably the next time we'll look at this, maybe the week after that. My guess is there's a possibility this will get pushed back again until next year, but we'll see. I think the next time that we will actually have this on the agenda will probably be around about the middle of August.
Sure.
And we need a cooling off period, I guess. I'm still doing more analysis, and I'm still finding things about this deal. I think a little bit of extra time is actually really going to be beneficial. So I'm glad we had the delay. And with that, Andy, I don't know if we'll talk next Wednesday because it's the Independence Day. We're not going to have any county business going on next week. We're closed, and so we may still call in if you're having a show. I don't know what the plan is, but nevertheless, please understand the county's shut down on the 4th of July. And our next meeting will be the following week after that.
Right. Yep. 2 weeks from now. Yeah, that'll be the 4th of July.
It is 2 weeks from now. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
We got a little bit of time. I know we're excited about celebrating our patriotism because that's the way we roll. But so that is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'm not sure what the plan is there yet either. So we'll be planning, and we'll let you know. But we're looking forward to it. It's coming up quicker than we even realize. Sedgwick County Commissioner Mr. Jim Howell, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. We'll chat with you again next Wednesday.
All right, thanks, Andy. Talk to you later.
Always a good time. Got to take a break. Wrapping up hour number 2. Lots more to get to today on a Wednesday.
With Andy Hoosier.
That's what I'm talking about. Wrapping up hour number 2. Lots more to get to. We haven't even touched half of what we need to discuss today. It's so crazy. Even in off-political seasons, there's a heck of a lot of politics to talk about. We'll get to all of it that we can. New research and new numbers come out when it comes to the number, or the dollar amount at least, that Wichita School District has invested into the lawsuits to try and get more funding for education in the state of Kansas. We'll talk about that. Plus, there is governors in the Mid-America region, including even Kansas, that signed on to petitions trying to fight for climate change deals. We'll talk about that. That's coming up. Plus, we'll retouch on some of the immigration stuff with the separating of the families and your phone calls as well. Lots to get to. A lot of things happening. Election season, baby. We are less than 35 days away from primaries. It's time for us to figure out who the heck we're going to vote for. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here. Hour number 3 right around the corner.
It's time for Reason.
Because now we're introducing the one thing that we have that can actually change the mentality of the people that we're trying to influence, and that is capitalism. We can change their diplomacy. We can change their leaders. We can overthrow the dictators. We can try and quote-unquote free the people, but unless the people know what to do with that freedom, they're lost. The one way that we can change things is introduce capitalism.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 3. The Voice of Reason broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Hey, it's great to have you along today as we roll along on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. The Facebook Live feed is up and rolling, by the way, as well. Facebook.com/1480 KQAM. We'll try and get Paul Cohlmia back with us, and not able to connect with him as of yet. We'll try and get him on either before the show is done, or we'll schedule him for another day. He's kind of busy. I mean, come on. He does run, 3 restaurants. 2 Riverside Cafe, 2 in Wichita here, 1 in Derby. Breakfast is kind of a big time for them, so he's kind of a busy guy, but we will try and get him on the show here relatively soon and chat with him about, as you know, the decision, which has been there for a while. This is why the crazy part about this entire story, if you heard, was them allowing the concealed carry of firearms in the restaurant. And I don't understand why this is big news now, other than them just reminding people and reinforcing it. And the progressives who either weren't aware of it. Guess what? Just imagine trying to live in the world of a progressive for a second. is that you go to a place that you love and you go there over and over and over and you're there all the time and you had no idea that people next to you were carrying guns. Oh, man. They were carrying firearms right next to you, and you don't like guns, and they scare you, and they will kill you because guns have a mind of their own. They are assault weapons, and they will assault you whenever they get an opportunity to do so, and they are scared. So as long as you're around them, they will kill you, and you've been sitting next to it all this time, and you had no idea. Oh, man. I mean, imagine the mind-blowing experience when you finally find out that when they post on social media that, there's been a gun next to you this entire time. They found that out now, and it's a panicky situation, and they freak out. So just imagine what they're going through. And then we bring it into kind of what we did with the vaping. With the vaping rules to where now you're not allowed to vape in a business as an individual. Before, where it had to be kind of an odorless thing and a clear thing, just the water vapor, and you could vape, and as long as the business kind of allowed you to do so, you had that prerogative, and now it's county ordinance, apparently, to where, nope, not allowed to. Let me ask you something. What is the role of government? What is the role of the government? Because I'm pretty sure that the government's role is not to tell you as a business what you are not allowed to do. And at what point will we eventually get to the line of saying you're not allowed to carry a firearm in business, in public businesses? We already do it to some venues, concert venues and entertainment venues and that sort of thing. But just imagine until they start going on and saying, yeah, you know what, VFW, you're not allowed to carry a firearm. Yeah, you know what, restaurants, you're not allowed to allow firearms in your restaurant. I mean, they're doing it with vaping. Why would they not try and do it with guns? And then this situation with the Riverside Cafe to where they say, yeah, we're a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. We're proud supporters of firearms. You're welcome to carry here in order to protect yourself. We're sick and tired of being robbed. We're sick and tired of things happening, and we don't want things to happen. And you have the right to carry, so we fully support the Second Amendment. End of story. And it's been a policy for a long time, but now people are recognizing it because they don't look at they don't look at the sticker on the window, which creates a whole nother situation about people that actually don't abide by the sticker on the window. They don't even look at it. They weren't even aware of it. They may have walked into the restaurant over and over and over and over and never saw the sticker on the window. Really makes you think, by the way, about the bad guys that want to do harm and have the intentions to do harm with guns, and they stop and they see the sticker on the window, and that's supposed to deter them. Half of these progressives that are all up in arms about this probably didn't even know that the sticker was there encouraging people to carry their firearm into the restaurant. Is that not the number one hypocrisy right there? When progressives don't even understand the own rules that they try to implement. But now that they're aware of it, now that they see on social media, because everything lives on social media, apparently, everything's on social media, now they're going to try an initiative to say, yeah, I guarantee you this is going to try and come up. They're just going to come up to the city council meeting or a county commission meeting, and someone's going to come up and say this whole shenanigans about Riverside Cafe and other businesses in the area carrying firearms and allowing customers to carry firearms. I feel very unsafe. Myself, I feel very unsafe with my children. I feel very unsafe all around about firearms being in the vicinity. I don't like that. We need to ban firearms in businesses. I guarantee you that's what they're going to try. It's unbelievable. Because now that they're aware of it, it may have been going on for years. It may have been going on for a long time. But because they're aware of it now and because they're in the whole activist mood, that's what they're going to try. And I've yet to see a shooting happen in the middle of a Riverside Cafe in any of their 3 locations. I've yet to see that. But they would get all fired up, wouldn't they? You know they're going to try it. It's just ironic to me. If some have been walking into the restaurant for years, never even recognized the sticker, now they see the sticker on social media because they say they support the Second Amendment, and then all of a sudden they panic and freak out. Oh my gosh, we got to ban that and stop it. I'm never going to go there again. You've been going there for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you never had an issue. And they've been there. That doesn't matter. Now that people are aware of it, I'm scared. How'd that sticker work out for you? 316-721-8255. Let's go right to the phones here, shall we? Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, Andy. It's Matt. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm not positive of this, but I have a high level of confidence that unless those restaurants are able to have like armed guards or whatever, they open themselves up for liability if that's what they're going to choose to do, and that's why I don't think that the any kind of regulatory body, right, can do that in this state anyway.
Well, true, and you're right. I mean, I don't know that it would ever happen, or that I'm sure that they would try it, but I don't know that it would ever happen with trying to regulate businesses when it comes to being allow or not allow firearms in the business. But just by the activist mentality, you know that they would at least try, because that's just what they do. Now, you're right. I don't think they'd be successful, and I don't think that they'd be allowed to do so, because there is the whole insurance and liability of the businesses, and when it comes to that side of it, that's a whole other discussion and a lot more detailed. But activists, I mean, if David Hogg and all the other ones are coming, which they came on Monday, I believe it was. They went up to Kevin Yoder's congressional district trying to advocate for to repeal guns and so on and so forth. If they found out about a restaurant like this and they would show up, they would be the ones protesting, standing in and trying to stop firearms in these areas and in these businesses, and trying to shut them down, trying to stop people from going in there. I mean, that's just what they do. Whether it's legal or not, that's what they try to do.
Yeah, so once again, the folks with no jobs and higher education and financially supported by other people have the time to go out and pull this kind of crap. So
exactly.
I get it.
Exactly. That's just what they do. Hey, Matt, I appreciate it. Great point. I mean, you're right. I mean, legally, logistically, it wouldn't make any sense. They probably wouldn't be able to do so, but that doesn't stop them from trying. Doesn't stop them from banning cigarettes because they didn't like the smoke in there because of a health hazard, so they were able to impose their will there. It didn't stop them from what they just did with the county trying to stop the vaping. I know it's a little bit different situation, but it's still the same mentality. Mentally, they see the same thing. Look, we don't like something, we will ban it. We don't like it, we will stop it. We're looking out for the other people and the consumer and the rest of the employees. I mean, I'm sure the unions would get involved with that and be like, look, I feel very unsafe because there's smoke around there, so we're inhaling secondhand smoke, so therefore we're getting lung cancer because of our job. And the union would say, nope, not allowed to do that. They'd say the same thing about a gun. Oh, you know what? There's a gun in the presence there, whether it's concealed or whether it's open. I feel very unsafe in that situation and in that environment. I don't like that. Union, oh, you know what? That's mental distress in the workplace, in the workforce. You're not allowed to do that. You got to start banning that. You know they would try it. And you're right. It is the individuals who probably still live in the basement. They crawl out of their basement and they show themselves and their glow-in-the-dark skin because they never see the sunlight, which is me, 365 days a year. And they go out and they protest, and then they go back into their bunkers and into their sewers, and they just go back and do their thing. How many protests have we seen lately? We saw Chris Kobach's office and Governor Collier's office, and we've seen the protests on the Capitol when it comes to the poor people's campaign because they don't have jobs, so they go out and they protest in the middle of the week to protest that they don't have jobs instead of going and getting a job. You know that they would try and pull these stunts because that's what they do. They're professional activists, which is why it's time for us to take back the narrative. It's time for us to take back that discussion when it comes to what's actually going to be advanced or not advanced. Take a break, 17 minutes past the hour. We'll shift gears a little bit. Sounds like we'll get Paul. We'll get him on the phone at 8:30. We'll try and get him on and chat with him for a few minutes. Looking forward to doing so with Paul Cohlmia, owner of Riverside Cafe, when it comes to this decision on the Second Amendment and supporting it openly when it comes to a lot of the political agendas by certain businesses in the area, and them just saying, we support your right to carry the firearm. Very simple, very easy, and we're going to allow you to do so. 316-721-8255. Got to take a break. Got some calls on the line. Stay here. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Hey, we love the fact that you hang out with us every single morning, waking you up the right way. Interpret that one however you like to do so. Question for you. It's been the ongoing theme today. Fact or opinion? Can you decipher between the two? Here's a fact for you. Or is it? you're safer when you have a firearm near you. That would be that would be a fact. Guns are really scary. We should ban them all. That would be, if you hear that in the media, an opinion. And a dumb one at that. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones line at number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Hello, this is Gary.
Gary, what's going on, sir?
Well, Andy, I'd like to point out that I heard this morning that under the Obama administration, there were family detention centers, but he or his one of his agencies had them closed down.
I don't know of them being closed down. Actually, if you want to go all the way back, the whole separating of the families in the detention centers, that started in, I want to say, 95 or 96 under Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's the one that started this process the way that we're doing it now. It was continued through George W. Bush. It was continued through Barack Obama. And Donald Trump now he's kind of tightened it up a little bit more, but it's still the same process. Why are we hearing the outrage about it right now?
Well, exactly. It's a false outrage as far as I'm concerned. The outrage should be that there are people that are trying to come in here by the thousands illegally and going around our justice and law system.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if I could real quick, there was an article, just an excerpt. C.S. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay, he wrote The Abolition of Man. And I'll be quick. In part, it says the operation of much modern education and curricula is to produce what may be called men without chest. It is an outrage that they should be commonly spoke of as intellectuals.
Mm-hmm.
This is the chance to say that he who attacks them attacks intelligence.
Ooh.
And another one says, truly, if you want men of virtue, you must teach virtue, but to do so, you must also believe that there is such a thing as virtue. And one last thing, we make men without chest and expect of them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. We castrate and bid the gilding be fruitful. C.S. Lewis.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, it really drives it home right now, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, yes, it really does. And I'll just one last thought before I go. I'm just so sick and tired of Pat Roberts and doing his dance back and forth. One issue, he's right, and just only half the time. I so want to get rid of him and get someone in that really cares.
We have some work to do. I mean, this whole child separation issue is the distraction from the main issue, which is, of course, illegal immigration. I mean, if we stopped the illegal immigrant part, then they wouldn't be separated from their families, which is a very commonsensical approach to this. Pat Roberts did sign, I'm sure you heard, and we talked about a little bit earlier, 13 senators signed a letter sending it to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, encouraging President Trump to not enforce the zero-tolerance policy and separating the families. Pat Roberts was the only Kansas senator and one of the 13 or 14 that ended up signing this. He did tweet, by the way, 2 days ago, Pat Roberts did, saying, while I firmly support enforcing our immigration laws, I am against using parental separation as a deterrent to illegal immigration. My concern, first and foremost, is the protection of the children. Why is that your first and foremost priority when your first and foremost priority would be to stop illegal immigration at all costs, and then the children wouldn't have anything to worry about when they have to be separated from their families?
Exactly. And, one thing that they could do is put signs in Spanish on the other side of the border before they get here, every 50 feet, that no matter where you go along the border, you read this sign that says, "We will take your children from you and feed them to our cows," or something like that.
Oh, there you go. See, why don't we just, if we don't want to separate them, why don't we just throw them in prison with the parents? And therefore, if they do end up staying because of an asylum seeker or something, then, then you as the parent now get to have claim to branding your children to coming into a new nation automatically with a criminal record. Why don't we do something like that? And then they don't have to be separated from the family. They can sit in prison the same way their parents do.
Well, I mean, you say prison, but it could be an internment camp like what the Japanese went through.
Well, there's that too. I get it, Paul. I appreciate it, Gary, very much. So great to talk to you. And no, you're right. I mean, it is the distraction. It is the insane argument that we're up against right now. I just don't understand why we've come to this level. Again, it's the emotional argument. It is the distraction from the real issue. And it's popped up now, which makes sense now. It really does make sense why the House is forming a very moderate amnesty-giving bill from the Republicans against leadership guidelines. The Senate doing the same thing on their end, trying to craft a very moderate amnesty, pro-amnesty type of bill that's not going to do anything to actually solve immigration, but just give amnesty to who's here. And then they're going to lump in the children with it, because it's going to come down to this vote, that if you don't vote for this moderate amnesty-giving bill to DACA recipients, to illegal immigration, to yada, 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 then you are going to hate every child that's been sitting separated from their family because you support tearing apart the family. That's what it's going to come down to. We just can't let it do that. Bottom of the hour news coming up when we come back. Paul Cohlmia from Riverside Cafe. He's going to be joining us along with your phone calls as well. This is The Voice of Reason.
Patriotism is alive and well. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
That's the way we roll. That's right. Wrapping up the show today on a hashtag Freedom Loving Wednesday. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK if you want to join in. But on the line with us, I'm really excited to have him on. As you know, we've been talking about it, reading the stories, going at national, baby, when it comes to a policy that's been in effect, as far as I'm aware, for a while, but everybody all panicking about it now. He's owner of Riverside Cafe, Mr. Paul Cohlmia, on the line with us. Paul, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know you're busy this morning, but man, you guys got a lot of response, positive and negative, on the social media. Talk about where this came from the start. I mean, you guys have had the sticker on the restaurant windows already, so this is not necessarily a policy change, but the fact that it went onto the social media really caused a bit of a storm.
It's been there for, I think, 12 years at the Riverside on 13th. So
it's been there for 13 years.
I don't know what happened. I have a new social media, and he was taking pictures of the plates and coming out and the things on the walls. And he just happened to take a picture of that on the front window, and he put everything online, and I thought, oh my God. Three days later, we had 25 or 30,000 hits on this thing.
Wow, unbelievable! And as we mentioned, I mean, the local news picked it up. Fox News has picked it up. I know that you've talked to a few other media outlets as well. What's been the response outside of course, the social media comments, the positive and the negative? What's been the response in the restaurants? Have people been talking about it, making comments to you guys?
Oh, it's been all more positive. I mean, at first it was negative on the social media, but it's been all positive.
Good. Well, that's what we need too. I mean, this in a world unfortunately full of divided politics, this shouldn't be a very divisive issue, but it seems to be, and we're starting to see the division between. I mean, we hear about the baker and whether it's supporting the LGBT.
Because the Second Amendment doesn't have it's white, black, pink, yellow. Whatever sex you are, it's just for everybody.
Exactly.
You know?
It's not supposed to be divisive.
But it has been, man.
It has been, no doubt. It's almost. I'm almost ready to see some of the anti-gun activists try and come and cause a stir. I'm glad that hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping it doesn't.
Yeah, I hope not either. Well, they used to eat there, so I don't know. Hopefully we can get some of them back and we can just talk like human beings.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, exactly. I mean, you're right. I mean, they've walked
Agree
into
to disagree.
Exactly. I mean, they've walked into the restaurant for how many years, eating, enjoying what you guys do, because you guys have a great product, and they've been there for years. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the sticker's been there. They walk past it all the time, which really shows the effectiveness of a sticker when they say don't bring a gun in, because they probably don't pay attention to it half the time. But now that they've seen it on social media, now all of a sudden it seems to be a big issue. I just don't buy it.
Well, and I've talked to these people, and I thought I was, acquaintance friends.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I don't know what it is. I mean, I've been called a bigot and other things, and
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Now, does any of the employees carry a concealed weapon for safety or for anything during operating hours?
No, just
okay.
No, they don't.
Okay, no, it's just open for the public if they choose to.
I mean,
do so.
I do, but they don't.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, and that's, I mean, if there's enough of the customers that are coming in like that, then I mean, you don't necessarily need anything else.
But that's the neat thing. You don't know who's carrying.
Exactly. You know? That's kind of the.
I mean, we haven't had any trouble in 12 years. You don't know, or maybe longer. We don't know who's carrying. I mean, if I know them, yeah, I do. So.
Sure. Do you talk to any other business owners in the area where they do the same thing? They have either employees or they encourage customers to come in with concealed carry. Do you know of any other businesses that do that around here?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure there might be a few of them. So.
Sure. No, absolutely. Well,
I mean, Rubens is just less than a mile away from here, and that's kind of what I think helped maybe stirred the pot. I don't know after that.
Sure. Well, it's fascinating to watch the reaction to this. I wonder how it's going to come out in the end, but I'm glad that you're getting support. We appreciate that very much. I know you've been a huge sponsor and a big help here with KQAM and with the Voice of Reason, and we love that. We appreciate it very much. We love working with you guys. I'm building myself up, by the way, for you guys' big 3-pound burger. That's going to be happening very soon.
All right.
I love it. Paul Cohlmia, Riverside Cafe. I know you're a busy guy this morning.
You.
I don't want to keep you, but appreciate you coming on the show, my friend. Keep up the great work. We love you.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate
it
very much.
You do too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Paul Cohlmia right there with Riverside Cafe. It's that right there. I mean, hey, you know what? We support the Second Amendment. It hasn't been a policy change. And now all of a sudden the people that we thought might be friends, people that we thought really enjoyed our product are now sacrificing not consuming the product because of the fact that they now are aware that there's potentially guns in the store when it's been happening like that for 12 years. It's unbelievable. They just don't care. Progressives, it doesn't click to them. And you would think that would be the biggest red flag, the light bulb that comes on saying that, wait a second, the sticker is so effective that they didn't even recognize that there are guns there because they're so used to just saying that it's not going to be a gun. So they assume when they walk in, there may be one, there may not be one, but they just assume that there's not a gun there because of a sticker. While there is a sticker saying pro guns, we encourage guns. And then all of a sudden now we feel unsafe. Shows how effective the sticker really is. Boy, oh boy. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We do appreciate Paul Cohlmia coming on the show real quick and giving us that little blurb, and we appreciate his support with KQAM and the Voice of Reason very much, so we love working with those guys. I want to shift gears just for a little bit. It is open line, see you for the last little bit of the show. If you want to jump on, you're more than welcome to do so at 316-721-8255. But there is a new governors group that is promoting carbon capture. I don't know what carbon capture is. I'm assuming, based on my basic logic, that carbon capture would be capturing carbon. I would assume that's what that is. And the reason that we would capture carbon is to fight what? Climate change. Now, whether this is directed towards manufacturing, whether this is directed towards maybe oil and gas, whether this is directed towards small business, I don't know. But here's what the story has to say. Coming from the Oklahoma governor's office, out of Oklahoma City, a bipartisan group of governors today announced a formation of a new national effort to provide state executive leadership, focus, and outreach on behalf of carbon capture policy and technology deployment. The governor's partnership on carbon capture will initially be led by Governors Matt Mead of Wyoming, Steve Bullock of Montana, Governor Mary Fallin of Oklahoma, Governor Gary Herbert of Utah, Governor John Bell Edwards of Louisiana, Governor Jeff Collier of Kansas, and others will be participating in this group. The partnership will undertake initiatives and support policies that further the development and deployment of carbon capture projects and carbon dioxide pipelines. Trying to capture the CO2, concerned about the climate change. Is this really what we need to be focused on right now? Is this really the focus that we should be having? I mean, I guess if you're going to, you need to do it at the state level. But is this really the focus the states need to be working on? How much money is going to be invested into this? I thought we were short on budgets. Oklahoma and Kansas, by the way. How much regulation is going to be onto this to try and stifle some of the growth and some of the success and some of the private sector-ism when it comes to the oil and natural gas industry? Pipelines for CO2. Regulating and carbon capturing CO2. You want to go back to the theme of the day when it talks about fact and opinion. all those concerned about carbon dioxide in the atmosphere when it comes to climate change would be... Hashtag fake news and opinion, not fact. It's funny. Now, it's unfortunate that, and I would strongly have to, I need to get the details on exactly what this is. Maybe it's not as big of a deal as what we're assuming, but the fact that we're focused on a climate change issue right now, when we have taxes to worry about, when we have families being separated from their children. Oh man. When we have regulations going out of control, when we have tax rates that are out of control, spending that's out of control, now we're concerned about climate change and how much money is going to be sunk in by all these states to try and fight climate change and capturing carbon out of the atmosphere, out of manufacturing or out of drilling or out of whatever that they choose to do. Another useless sideways program to try and get you all emotionally fired up that does nothing for society. Let's go to the phones. It's open lines to you, and the lines are filling up. 316-721-8255. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Sue.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Sue?
I'm okay. How are you?
Hey, we're living the dream every day.
Well, that's good.
That's right.
Well, this what you're just talking about sounds like a little bit of pandering to me. I think Collier's had a rough go trying to convince people that he's the governor because Brownback didn't leave soon enough, and sounds like he might be pandering to the people up in northeast Kansas to get a few votes with this whole emissions thing. I don't know, because like you say, there are way more important things going on in this state than that right now, and for him to be focused on that at this point in time just doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me.
Yeah, the only thing I can see is, it is election time coming up, so maybe it's another issue that hasn't been necessarily addressed to at least have something on the record for it. I don't know. Now, I will give Governor Collier credit because he's done some really cool things that I haven't been able to talk about the last couple of days that I do want to give him credit for. But for something like this, why we're focused on it when, we just made the announcement of potential National Guard members being ready to be sent down to the border if we get asked to do so in the state, when we're still spending more money than we're receiving in right now, really as a state. The tax rates are insanely high. Education, the Supreme Court still hasn't made their decision, but is leaning towards saying that we may have to call in a special session. Right now, those are kind of priorities as opposed to, hey, you know what? Let's find ways to capture carbon.
Exactly. And not only that, we still have a Medicaid problem going on in this state on top of all those things you just said.
Exactly.
So, there are things that are much more of a priority to most families as far as their day-to-day life going on in this state than that. And, I'd venture to say that most people that live in this part of the country see this climate change thing as the farce that it really is for the most part, and feel like that there's real things right here on the ground that affect Kansans that need to be addressed first before something like this. And, as far as all this other stuff with the immigration, it's just the issue du jour of the election cycle. The Democrats pick one every time. Mm-hmm. They hammer it. I'm home during the day. I see that this issue of the separating children is being screamed about on every show, even just little daytime women's shows that you'd never expect to hear this being pushed on.
Sure.
Because that's the thing that they know is going to get the Republicans this time. What do? The same thing they always do. And I'm a Republican. They run screaming from the room saying, oh, we'll do whatever you want. Just don't call us a bad guy and make sure we get reelected. And as far as Pat Roberts, he's old. He almost didn't get reelected last time, and I'm surprised that he's all that worried about, something like this right now when he's not up for reelection, because I think it's going to hurt him.
I really think so. He's had kind of an iffy record for a while when it comes to some of these issues. Not necessarily the farm stuff, because I will admit, he's solid when it comes to agriculture, but outside of that, he's been kind of wishy-washy on that front. And you're right. They bring up these issues to scare Republicans. You know what's sad, though, is that eventually you would think that you would learn how the opposition plays the game as you get close to the goal line. We get close to an election, midterm election, general election, regular election, doesn't matter, and we get close to that, and they bring up these issues that they try and drive on an emotional attack against Republicans, and you would think that the Republicans would have a counter to be able to prepare for that because they played the game once or twice. But it seems like, as you mentioned, we still run frantically out of the room because we're scared of being called heartless and a jerk during the election time, so they try and play nice.
Exactly. And we see it even touching the local election cycle. I mean, look at what they're trying to do to Chris Kobach. They're letting it trickle down so that they're trying to use it to affect all the local elections as well.
Let me ask you this. Do you really care the fact that the federal judge came out and said that you need to take a class or two to go back to trial? Does that have any effect on you in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing with these big federal groups or international groups going out now and trying to seat all these local people in local governments, in governorships and everything. It's kind of scary. We've seen some cutthroat stuff already going on in Kansas over this local election cycle. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get uglier as we get closer to August and then on to November, I would think. So I'm not real pleased about it, and I hope that we have some people with some stiff spines that'll stand up to it and do what's right for us.
Amen to that. I love it. Sue, I appreciate the call very much. Thank you so much. Let's go to the call here, line number 2. No, you're right. You would think that we would actually have a game plan saying, hey, you know what? Election time. They're desperate. They want to repeal everything that we're doing. Let's come up with a game plan so that way we don't get caught off guard and have us backed into a corner because they want to try and catch us up on something emotional, and that way we look bad. You would think we would have a plan for that. But instead, what do we hear now? All the Republicans, we can't tear families apart. We just need to stop illegal immigration. And then let them not be separated by being all touchy-feely and emotional. Let's go to the phones. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, Andy, this is Heath.
Heath, what's happening, sir?
Oh, not much. I'll keep it quick. I don't want to repeat everything the previous caller said, but basically, I would encourage Governor Coyer to jump on every left issue he can possibly dream up or look at, and just keep supporting them. I mean, whether it's hydrocarbons or not wanting to separate families, or you name your left issue, I hope he just keeps jumping on right before the primary, because that'll just make it easier for Kobach to clean his clock.
Well, so, I don't know. Yeah, now again, I have to get the details on this carbon capture initiative, and it's numerous governors from the entire Mid-America region. I don't know whether it is the pipelines, whether it's the manufacturing, whether it's the selling, whether it's the bit. I don't know the details on it, so I'm not going to criticize too terribly much on it yet. But again, why are we focused on something like this right now? To me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Why put his name anywhere near it? I mean, just, let it play out with other governors, but why would he want to even get near it until he finds, until it becomes a larger issue is beyond me. And the same thing for Roberts. I hope he comes out with more tweets, not wanting to separate families with this zero tolerance. I hope he just keeps going against Trump on everything he can dream up, because that'll just make it easier for him to kick his tail out when it next time comes. So I just wanted to give that out. So thanks a lot.
I appreciate it, Heath, very much so. We're going to have to make some really tough decisions here very soon when it comes to the midterm elections. Primary is right around the corner, and obviously the Senate seats aren't open right now, but we have a couple House seats that are going to be up for either election or re-election. The 2nd Congressional District is going to be an open seat. Lynn Rogers stepping aside from that one. Who's going to represent that district? We have a couple incumbents with Kevin Yoder and with Ron Estes and with Roger Marshall out on the big 1st district on the western part of the state, and it's up to us to decide what we're going to represent, what we're going to stand for, and we got some big decisions to make. Let alone a lot of the local, if I can talk today, good golly, the state officials, the state representatives. I mean, we have some major elections coming up with that one, with some contenders, with some incumbents, with some new ones coming in. We need to start deciding what the party's going to stand for, what we're going to stand for, and what's going to be advocated for at the statewide level and the federal level. That's up to you and I. No one else is going to make that decision for us, or should they be making those decisions for us. And carbon capturing stuff really isn't the highest up on my priority list right now. When I see a statement saying we're going to completely shut down the Supreme Court from any decision-making on public educational funding, then I'm going to stand up and say, you know what? Bravo, my friend, because that's exactly what we need to be focused on, not carbon capturing stuff. Got to take a break real quick. Got some more calls on the line. Stay here. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
as Sue mentioned, that we're going to see some very dirty politicking coming up in the next few months, getting ready for not only for the primary, but the general election thereafter. There's going to be a lot of mudslinging. There's going to be some crazy issues. And, of course, there's going to be the accusations. There's going to be some really heated discussions and things that just don't even matter or mean anything. It's really true. I mean, give me a break. Really, we're going to be so focused on now climate change. We're going to stop Supreme Court. We're going to stop the whole immigration debacle. Let's be more focused on the children being separated as opposed to the family breaking the law. Let's be more focused on the fact that Chris Kobach got sentenced by a federal judge to take classes on how to defend himself in court, as opposed to the fact that they've used an obscure, ridiculous argument about the 14th Amendment being violated when it comes to voter ID laws, which makes no sense in any way, shape, or form. That's what we should be focused on and upset about, right? Let me tell you something. Just as the national news when it comes to the fake news trying to attack Donald Trump, and we've seen, 2 years now, if you watch Meet the Press on Sundays, about how it's all Russian collusion and Donald Trump lied and it's all a bunch of shenanigans. That's all you hear. That's what we're seeing in Kansas as well. Chris Kobach's evil. Governor Jeff Collier's evil. Republicans are evil. Don't listen to them. Don't believe them. And oh, by the way, they want to tear apart your families and tear apart your children. That's what they want. That's the argument that you're going to be hearing from now until election time, because it's just as dirty on the local level as it is on the federal level. And it's kind of pathetic. But that's what we're here for, because we enjoy it. This is your show. As always, it's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason, baby. This is The Voice of Reason. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow getting ready for the weekend. This is The Voice of Reason. Have a great one.